All right, let's get into it. We're about to crack open a really fascinating dental mystery. The case today? It's a pretty wild one. How two teeth can literally become one.
So, have you ever looked in the mirror, maybe while you're brushing your teeth and thought, that one tooth looks bigger than the others? You're not just seeing things. There's actually a wild biological story behind that. And you know what? We're about to uncover it.
Okay, so our investigation kicks off with this, what we'll call a dental anomaly. The main suspect, our central clue, is that unusually large tooth. First things first, we've got to give it a proper name, right? See, in the world of dentistry, you don't just call this a big tooth. That's not very scientific. The official clinical term is a macrodont. It's pretty straightforward. Macro means large, and dont means tooth. Easy enough. But here's the thing. That's just a label. It's not the full story, not by a long shot.
Exactly. Calling it a macrodont is really just identifying a symptom. It tells us what we're looking at, but it doesn't tell us how or why it got that way. The real story, the super interesting part, is the incredible process that actually created it in the first place.
And that brings us to the big reveal, the cause. We're talking about a fused tooth. So we're shifting gears now from just identifying it to really explaining it. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of how this dental magic trick actually happens.
Okay, so how does this work? Well, it all starts deep inside the jaw, with two totally separate tooth buds. You can think of them like seeds for teeth that are just starting to grow. But as you can see here, they end up developing a little too close for comfort. They get so close, they eventually join together, making contact and even sharing their core material, which is known as dentin. It's like two separate blueprints getting merged into one single final structure. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, so we get the biology behind it, but how does a dentist, in their office actually confirm that what they're seeing is fusion? How can they be absolutely sure it isn't something else entirely?
Well, it's a great question. And just like any good detective, a dentist has to follow the evidence. There are several telltale clinical signs they look for to build their case. So, let's put on our detective hats and look at the clues. All right, so there are three key pieces of evidence a dentist is looking for. First, the most obvious one, an abnormally large crown, the part of the tooth you can see. Second, and this is a big one, an X-ray will often show two distinct root canals inside. I mean, think about it. That's like finding two separate plumbing systems inside one house. It's a dead giveaway that it used to be two structures. And third, location, location, location. This usually happens in the incisor area. Yep, your front teeth. So a huge crown and two root canals, those are some really powerful indicators. They're strong clues. But in medicine, you always want that definitive slam dunk proof. And it turns out there's one final test that confirms the diagnosis beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that brings us to the final count. This is it, the definitive proof. It's so simple, so elegant, and it's what cracks this entire case wide open. And here it is, the golden rule. If the tooth count is reduced, it is fusion. It's that simple. You just count the teeth. So let's say a person should have 10 teeth in that row, but when you count them, you only find 9, and one of them is that giant macrodont. Well, you've just found your fused tooth. The fact that you're one tooth short is the ultimate confirmation that two have truly become one.
And just like that, what seems like this super complex biological mystery is solved with, well, basic arithmetic. The mystery of the giant tooth isn't cracked with a high-powered microscope, but with a simple, definitive count. How cool is that? A very, very satisfying conclusion to our case.
You know, it really makes you wonder what other incredible biological stories are out there, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for a curious mind to notice them and figure them out. What else are we missing? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.